The city was dead. Tall metal towers stood silent under thick ice. Broken lights hung like frozen stars. Snow fell without sound, covering streets where no one walked anymore. The cold was not normal cold. It cut into the skin and drank heat from the air. Even machines had stopped working here. She was running. Her breath came out in short white clouds. Each step was slower than the last. Her legs shook, and her vision blurred. The cold was winning. It always won in the end. She pulled her thin cloak tighter around her body, but it did nothing. Her people were not built for this world. Their skin was soft. Their bodies needed warmth. Long ago, this planet had been safe. Then the humans came and everything changed. Humans called this place a restricted zone. For her people, it was a grave. She stumbled and fell to her knees. The ice burned her palms. Pain shot up her arms, but she did not scream. Screaming wasted energy. Energy meant life. She looked up, ready to accept the end. That was when she saw the light. One house, just one. It stood alone at the edge of the frozen city. The walls were thick. The windows glowed warm yellow. Smoke rose from the roof, slow and steady. Someone lived there. Someone human. Fear hit her harder than the cold. From the time she was young, she had been told stories about humans. They were strong. They were loud. They were violent. They hated her kind. If a human saw her, he would not ask questions. He would not listen. He would end her. She tried to stand again, failed, and fell back into the snow. Her body felt heavy now like stone. Her fingers were numb. Her heart beat slower with each breath. If she stayed outside, she would die in minutes. If she went inside, she might die faster. Her eyes closed for a moment. In that darkness, she saw faces from home. Her mother, her sisters, all gone now, lost to cold, hunger, or human patrols. She opened her eyes again. "I don't want to die like this," she whispered, her voice barely sound. Using the last of her strength, she crawled toward the house. The door was locked, but a small side panel was loose. She forced it open with shaking hands and slipped inside. Warm air rushed over her skin, sharp and painful, but good. So good it almost made her cry. She pulled the panel closed and dragged herself across the floor. The room was dark. The smell of food still hung in the air. Something sweet, something cooked. A human lived here. He would return soon. She crawled behind a wall unit and curled into a tight ball. Her body shook hard now, not just from cold but fear. If he found her, she would not fight. She had no strength left. Her eyes closed. Time passed. She did not know how long. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Human. A door opened. Cold air rushed in, then stopped. The door closed again. Something was placed on a table. Metal clinked. A deep breath filled the room. He was inside. Her heart raced so fast it hurt. She pressed a hand to her mouth to stop any sound. Her body screamed for sleep, but sleep here could mean death. The human moved through the house. Lights turned on one by one. His boots crossed the floor, closer now. Every step felt like a hammer inside her head. He stopped. Silence. She could feel him standing still, just a few steps away. Then he spoke, low and confused. "That's strange." Her breath caught. He sniffed the air. She knew that smell. Her people had a different scent. Humans could notice it. That was how they were hunted. Her vision went dark at the edges. The human turned. His shadow fell across the wall where she hid. She waited for the shout, for the weapon, for the end. Instead, she heard something else, a sharp intake of breath. "Oh," the human said quietly, and then he saw her. The human did not shout. That alone felt wrong. He stood frozen near the wall, staring at the shape curled on the floor. The light from the ceiling lamp fell across her thin body, her pale skin, her shaking hands. For a long moment, neither of them moved. She expected pain. Instead, the human slowly raised one hand, not holding a weapon but open. His eyes were wide, not angry, careful. "You're alive," he said, more to himself than to her. Her throat felt dry. Words came out broken, forced. "Please." she whispered. Don't throw me out. Her voice cracked at the last word. Speaking took what little strength she had left. Her body shook harder now, the cold still deep inside her bones. The human took a step back, then another, as if afraid she might fall apart in front of him. You're freezing, he said. You shouldn't be here. She let out a weak sound that might have been a laugh. Outside, she said slowly, is death. That was the truth. Simple, clear. The human looked at the door, then at her, then at the windows covered in thick ice. He rubbed his face with both hands. They said your kind was gone, he muttered. Cleared out months ago. She tried to push herself up, failed, and collapsed again. Her vision blurred. She could not feel her feet anymore. I hide, she said. Not bad, just cold. The human moved fast then. He crossed the room and knelt near her, keeping a careful distance. Heat rolled off his body, strong and real. It made her skin sting. Don't move, he said. You'll pass out. He reached for a thick blanket from the couch and gently wrapped it around her. The warmth was almost painful, like fire under her skin. She gasped, then cried out softly, unable to stop herself. Easy, he said. Slow. She clutched the blanket with weak fingers. Tears froze on her lashes, then melted. I thought, she said between breaths. You would kill me, the human swallowed. I thought I might have to, he admitted quietly. That honesty scared her more than lies. He stood and walked to the wall panel. With a sharp movement, he locked it shut. Then he checked the door locks, the windows, the floor vents. You can't stay, he said, not looking at her. If patrols find you here. I know, she said. They will kill you too. That made him stop. He turned slowly. You know that. She nodded. Humans punish helpers. His jaw tightened. Not all of us. He helped her sit up against the wall. Her head lolled, heavy. He placed a heat unit near her, low and gentle. What's your name? He asked. She hesitated. Names had power. Then she answered. Sally. He nodded once. I'm Evan. For a moment there was quiet. Just the hum of the heater and her uneven breathing. The screen on the far wall flickered to life. A news report. Search teams continue clearing remaining alien strays, the voice said. Citizens are advised to report unusual heat signatures or foreign biological presence immediately. Sally's body went stiff. Evan cursed under his breath and muted the screen. They're close, he said. Too close. Outside, a low mechanical sound passed overhead. Drones. Sally looked at him, fear burning through the warmth. Please, she said again. I won't take space. I won't eat much. I can work. I can clean. I can cook. He stared at her, disbelief in his eyes. You can cook? He asked. She nodded quickly. Yes, I learned fast. I am useful. He laughed once, short and bitter. That's not what this is about. The lights flickered. Sally grabbed his sleeve with sudden strength. They scan heat, she said urgently. Your house is warm. Too warm. Evan's face went pale. Outside, the drone sound stopped. Right above the house. A sharp electronic tone rang through the walls. Scanning. Evan looked at Sally. Sally looked back, her eyes wide, pleading, full of fear and hope. If he sent her out now, she would die. If he kept her inside, they both might. The scanning tone grew louder. Evan reached for the main power switch. The house went dark. Darkness filled the house. The heater shut down. The lights went out. The soft hum of machines vanished, leaving only silence and the sound of Sally's breathing. The cold began to creep back in, slow and quiet. Outside, the drone hovered. The scanning tone cut through the walls, sharp and steady. Evan stood still near the power switch, listening. His heart beat loud in his ears. One wrong move, one sound too strong, and the drone would mark the house. Sally pressed herself against the wall, pulling the blanket tight. Her body shook again, but she did not speak. She had learned silence well. Seconds passed. Then minutes. The scanning tone slowed. The drone shifted position. A beam of pale light slid across the frozen window, then moved on. Finally, the sound faded into the distance. Evan let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "It's gone," he whispered. Sally's legs gave out. She sank to the floor, weak and shaking. Evan moved to her side, turning the power back on just enough to run the heater low. Warmth returned. Sally closed her eyes, relief washing over her face. "You saved me," she said softly. Evan did not answer right away. "I didn't," he said at last. "I just didn't hand you over." That answer confused her. She studied his face. Humans were strange. They did not always see their own choices. "I will not cause trouble," she said quickly. "I will stay hidden. I know ways." "You can't hide forever," Evan replied. "They scan deeper every week." She looked down at her hands. Thin, scarred, honest. "Then let me earn my place," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "Earn?" "Yes," she said. "I can help. You are alone. This house needs work." He almost laughed again. Almost. "You barely survived the cold," he said. "What could you possibly do?" Sally slowly pushed herself to her feet. She swayed, then steadied herself against the wall. "Watch," she said. Over the next hours, she did not rest. She cleaned first, quietly, carefully. She used little water, little power. She fixed loose panels, sealed heat leaks with simple tools she recognized at once. Her hands moved with skill born from need. Evan watched from a distance, confused and uneasy. "You've done this before," he said. "All my life," she answered. "We adapt or we die." Later, when her strength returned a little, she asked for food. He hesitated, then handed her basic supplies. She cooked without machines. The smell filled the house, warm, rich, unfamiliar but good. Evan took one bite and froze. "That's actually good," he said. Sally smiled for the first time. Night fell. Outside, the cold deepened. Inside, the house felt different. Lived in, shared. But fear did not leave. A sharp knock echoed through the house. Evan stiffened. Sally's smile vanished. Another knock. Louder. "Open up!" A voice called from outside. "Routine check." Evan moved fast. He opened a hidden floor panel and gestured. "Down there," he whispered. "Don't move." Sally nodded and slipped inside without a sound. The door opened. A neighbor stood outside, bundled in thick gear, eyes sharp. "Your heat spike earlier," the neighbor said. "Drones flagged it." "My system glitched," Evan replied calmly. "Old wiring." The neighbor's gaze drifted inside the house. "You live alone, right?" Evan nodded. The neighbor sniffed the air. "What's that smell?" "Dinner," Evan said. "Want some?" The neighbor hesitated, then shook his head. "Keep your system stable," he warned. "They're watching closer now." When the door closed, Evan leaned against it, heart racing. Below the floor, Sally listened. For the first time since she entered the house, she understood the truth. This human was risking everything for her. She emerged slowly. "I owe you my life," she said. Evan met her eyes. "That's the problem," he replied. "I don't know why I'm doing this." Sally stepped closer. "Because you are stronger than they taught you to be," she said. Outside, distant sirens wailed. And Evan knew one thing clearly now. Keeping her safe would only get harder. But sending her away would be impossible. Morning came without light. The sky outside stayed gray and heavy, like frozen stone. Snow pressed against the windows. Inside the house, Evan sat at the table, staring at nothing. He had not slept. Every small sound made his muscles tense. Sally stood near the wall, quiet. She could feel the change. The danger had grown. Humans noticed patterns. And she was now a pattern. "They will return," she said softly. "Soon." Evan nodded. "They always do." He rubbed his hands together, trying to warm them, though the house was already warm. "You can't stay hidden forever," he said again. "I don't have a bunker. I don't have false scans. I'm just a man in a bad place." Sally stepped closer. "I know," she said. "That is why I must speak." He looked up. Her eyes were steady now. Not afraid. Determined. My people bond, she began. When we choose someone, we choose for life. Evan blinked. That's not what I meant. She shook her head. Please listen. This is important. She took a slow breath. When my people lose our homes, we are allowed to seek shelter with another species. But only under bond. It is law. It is survival. Evan's stomach tightened. What kind of bond? He asked carefully. Sally lowered her gaze, then lifted it again. I would belong to your household, she said. I would serve, protect, and share life. The words felt heavy in the air. Evan stood up. That sounds like ownership. No, she said quickly. It is choice. Mine. He walked away, pacing. You don't understand humans, he said. We don't do this. Not like that. I understand fear, Sally replied. I understand being thrown into the cold. That stopped him. She went on, voice calm but shaking just a little. I can cook, she said. I can keep your home safe. I can work. And, if life continues, I can bear children. Evan turned sharply. That's not, he stopped. Words failed him. Silence filled the room. Sally pressed on, forcing the words out before fear could take them back. My species is compatible. Our children would be strong. Human strength. Our adaptability. Evan stared at her like the ground had shifted under his feet. You're offering this because you're scared, he said. Yes, she admitted. And because I see who you are. Before he could answer, a deep sound rolled through the air. A transport engine. Sally's ears flattened. They are coming, she whispered. Outside, heavy vehicles stopped near the house. Boots crunched on snow. Voices spoke into radios. Evan moved fast. He grabbed his coat. Stay here, he said. No, Sally replied. I will not hide again. A loud knock shook the door. Open up, a voice demanded. Evan opened it. 2 officers stood outside, armored and cold-eyed. We received reports, one said. Unregistered activity. We need to search. Sally stepped forward into view. The officers froze. Weapons rose. Alien, one shouted. Sally raised her hands slowly. I am not armed, she said clearly. I am under human protection. Evan stood beside her. She's with me, he said. The officers laughed. That's not how it works, one replied. Sally turned her head toward Evan. This is the moment, she said softly. Then she faced the officers. I invoke bond law, she said. Witnessed and declared. The officers hesitated. That law is old, one muttered. But still recorded, Sally replied. Check your system. The officers did. Silence followed as data scrolled across their visors. One officer swore. It's real, he said. If confirmed, she's protected. Evan looked at Sally, stunned. You planned this, he said. Yes, she answered. But only if you did not throw me out. The officers lowered their weapons. Confirmation requires time, one said. Until then, she stays. They left. The door closed. Evan leaned against it, shaking. Sally stood before him, vulnerable but proud. I will not force you, she said. If you say no, I will walk into the cold. Evan looked at her, at the snow outside, at the warmth inside, and he realized the truth. The promise she made had changed everything. The house felt smaller after the officers left. Not because of space, but because of what now lived inside it. A truth. A choice. Evan sat slowly on the edge of the table, his hands shaking. Sally stood across from him, still, like she was waiting for a final command. You knew about that law? Evan said at last. Yes, Sally replied. But it only works if a human stands with me. He looked up at her. You used me. She flinched, just a little. I trusted you, she said. That is not the same. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the transport engines faded. Snow fell again, calm and quiet, as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. They'll check, Evan said. Dig into records. Ask questions. I know, Saley said. That is why I stepped forward. He laughed softly, without humor. You realize what happens if they decide the law doesn't matter anymore? Yes, she answered. They will erase me. Or all of us. That made him look at her again. Really look. All of you. Saley nodded. My people are still here. Hiding. Starving. Freezing. You see one of us. There are hundreds more. Evan felt something twist in his chest. They said your kind attacked colonies, he said. Killed civilians. Saley shook her head slowly. We defended ourselves, she said. Humans came first. Took heat cores. Left cities cold. Evan stood and walked to the wall screen. With a few taps, he pulled up public records. News feeds. Military reports. Clean stories. Simple lies. Show me, he said. Saley stepped beside him and placed her hand near the screen. The system resisted her touch, then opened deeper files. Old ones. Hidden ones. Images filled the wall. Frozen children. Collapsed shelters. Human ships lifting off while cities died below. Evan's breath caught. They buried this, he whispered. Yes, Saley said. Fear is easier than guilt. A warning tone sounded. Incoming message. Evan opened it. A government seal appeared. Notice. Bond claim under review. All parties to remain available. They're scared, Evan said. That's new. Saley tilted her head. Humans only listen when something threatens their control. Another message followed. Civilian channels lit up. Leaks spreading. Old footage surfacing. Someone had opened the archives. The truth was moving faster now. By nightfall, patrol drones no longer circled just their house. They hovered across the city. Above abandoned blocks. Over hidden shelters. Not hunting. Watching. A knock came at the door again. This time it was softer. Evan opened it. A woman stood there unarmed, wearing a government badge but no armor. I'm here to talk, she said. Not to arrest. Saley stepped forward. The woman's eyes widened, but she did not reach for a weapon. You're real, she said quietly. Yes, Saley replied. And tired of hiding. They sat at the table together. The woman listened. She asked questions. Hard ones. Saley answered all of them. About food shortages. About heat theft. About how many had died. Evan watched the woman's face change. Doubt. Shock. Shame. This will cause chaos, the woman said finally. Truth always does, Evan replied. Outside, voices rose. Neighbors gathered. Not angry, curious. Screens across the city replayed the same images Evan had seen. The woman stood. I can't promise safety, she said. But I can promise this won't be buried again. She left. Saley let out a slow breath. It has begun, she said. Evan nodded. Yeah, and there's no going back. For the first time since she entered the house, Saley smiled without fear. The cold outside did not feel so endless anymore. The city did not wake up the same way after the truth spread. Sirens did not scream. Patrols did not rush. Instead, there was confusion. Messages crossed the networks too fast to stop. Old files resurfaced again and again, copied, shared, translated. The story of Saley's people was no longer a whisper. It was everywhere. Evan stood at the window, watching drones drift without purpose. They don't know what to do, he said. Saley stood beside him. When hunters lose the story they tell themselves, they hesitate. A signal tone sounded from the wall screen. Official request. Representative hearing. Voluntary attendance. Evan read it twice. They want to talk, he said. Yes, Saley replied. Because silence is no longer safe for them. The transport that came for them was not armored. No soldiers. No restraints. Just a plain vehicle and a driver who did not meet their eyes. The meeting hall was warm. That alone shocked Saley. Rows of humans sat behind clear panels. Officials. Scientists. Observers. Cameras hovered above, broadcasting everything live. There would be no shadows this time. Saley walked forward. She did not bow. She spoke. She told them about the first winter, about how heat cores were taken for emergency use and never returned, about families burning furniture to stay alive, about hiding children underground so patrols would not see their heat. The room was silent. Then Evan spoke. He told them what he had believed, what he had repeated without question, how easy the lies had been to accept. I didn't hate them, he said. I just never looked. That hurt more than anger. A scientist stood and asked careful questions. Saley answered them all. Her species did not attack first. Their bodies required shared warmth. Bonding was cultural, not control. This offer she made, the scientist said. It was not submission. No, Saley said firmly. It was survival through trust. The word trust hung heavy in the air. More signals arrived as the hearing continued. Reports from other cities. Sightings. More of her people stepping forward, no longer hiding. One by one. Not begging. Standing. By the end of the day, the tone of the room had changed. A council member cleared his throat. Humanity built its strength on cooperation, he said slowly. We forgot that. An order was issued. Immediate cease of removal actions. Temporary protection status granted. Saley felt her knees weaken. Evan steadied her. Outside the hall, humans waited. Not soldiers. Citizens. Some looked afraid. Some angry. Many unsure. One stepped forward. A woman holding a child. My heaters failed last winter, she said to Saley. If your people know how to survive cold, maybe we can help each other. Saley nodded. Yes, she said. That is how we live. That night, shelters opened. Not hidden ones. Real ones. Warm ones. Humans brought blankets. Her people brought knowledge. How to seal heat. How to share energy without waste. The city changed shape. Not fast. Not clean. But truly. Evan watched Saley speak with others of her kind. She laughed softly. The sound surprised him. You're not afraid anymore, he said. I am, she answered. But I am not alone. A message arrived late that night. Bond claim. Recognized under protection law. Evan looked at the words for a long time. Saley read his face. I will still leave, she said gently. If you wish. He shook his head. No, he said. You belong here. Not because of a law. She smiled. Because you chose. Outside, the frozen city lights flickered back on, one block at a time. The hunt was over. Now came something harder. Learning to stand together. Spring did not come with warmth. Came with change. The snow still covered the city, but it no longer felt endless. Heat lines glowed beneath the streets again. Old systems were repaired not for profit but for people. Human and alien hands worked side by side, slowly learning how to trust. Saley stood on the roof of Evan's house and watched the city breathe. For the first time, smoke rose from many rooftops. Life had returned. Her people no longer hid under broken floors or inside frozen tunnels. They walked openly now, careful but proud. Humans stared sometimes. Some whispered. Some smiled. Fear did not vanish in a single season, but it was no longer in control. Evan joined her, handing her a warm cup. You're famous, he said. She took the cup with both hands. I am visible, she replied. That is different. He smiled at that. The bond law had been recognized fully, not just for them but for others too. It was rewritten, cleaned of old fear, shaped into something fair. Choice became the center of it. Always choice. Saley had spoken before councils and crowds, but this moment felt heavier. You can leave, Evan said quietly. Your people are rebuilding farther south. Warmer ground. She nodded. Yes. Silence followed. I thought, she said slowly, that survival was the greatest goal. And now? Evan asked. Now I think living well matters more. She looked at him. I choose to stay. Evan felt his chest tighten. With me. With you, she said. If you still choose me. He did not answer with words. He took her hand. The first mixed settlement was announced a week later. Not a camp. Not a zone. A city. Humans argued. Some protested. Some left. But many stayed. Because they had seen the truth. Because they had learned that strength did not come from walls or weapons. It came from who you refused to abandon. Children were the first to change everything. Human children played with alien children without fear. They asked questions adults were too afraid to ask. They laughed at differences instead of naming them threats. Sally watched a small child tug at her sleeve. "Are you cold?" the child asked. Sally knelt. "Not anymore." The child smiled and ran off. Evan watched that moment and understood something important. Humanity had not been tested by war. It had been tested by mercy. And it had passed. Months later, the ice fields beyond the city began to crack. Not melt fully, but break. Water moved again. Energy flowed where it had been locked away. The frozen world was healing. So were its people. Sally stood before a gathered crowd one final time. She did not speak of pain. She spoke of choice. "We were taught to fear humans," she said. "And humans were taught to fear us. But fear is not truth. It is a story told by those who benefit from silence." She looked across the faces. "You let me live," she said. "Not because I was useful. Not because of law. But because one human chose to see me." The crowd did not cheer. They listened. That was better. That night, Sally and Evan stood together at the window, watching snow fall softly. "You changed everything," Evan said. "No," Sally replied. "Humans did." He frowned. "How?" "You chose better," she said. "That is your greatest power." Outside, the lights of the city glowed warm against the cold. Humanity had once been feared as destroyers. Now they were known for something else. For stopping. For listening. For opening the door instead of closing it. And in a frozen world that had nearly died, that choice changed the future of every species who would one day call it home.